is Thursday afternoon, man. I figured, why not? Open up the OTS venue for a little happy hour. We got a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen. AEW and the TV rights deal that has the internet wrestling community up in arms. Some people don't like it. AEW's fan base is celebrating like they just won the World Series. I don't really know what there is to celebrate, but like I said about every other TV deal prior to this one, let me know when the TV product gets better. Also, Bad Blood is this weekend. Our WWE champion Cody Rhodes is dropping some hints about who may show up. We got some crown jewel implications, according to Cody Rhodes, at Bad Blood on Saturday. We got a full match card. We got some predictions. We got all your news and rumors wrapped up into one afternoon show right here on episode 477. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's too early for an old-fashioned, man. I need an ice-cold beer on this Thursday afternoon. Happy hour, man. Nothing like it. OTS venue, when I walk through those doors on this Thursday afternoon, I want to know, what the fuck are you guys drinking? I'll see you over there.
Why has Triple H been so successful? Why is Triple H running WWE better than Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard on Monday and Friday night? Long-term booking.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 477 for your Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. I am your host, JD from New York. As always, coming to you live from the OTS venue inside my mother's basement. Thank you guys so very much for joining me on your Thursday evenings, Thursday afternoons. It's happy hour wherever you may be. There was no Tuesday Night Titans this week. I think both Jason and I kind of regretted not having Tuesday Night Titans because what we got with the NXT debut on the CW network was very, very mid. And I think we both came to the conclusion that next week, when NXT and AEW go head-to-head, that we are probably both going to be covering AEW on Tuesday, and then we'll be right here on this channel for a very, very special Wednesday edition of Tuesday Night Titans. So Tuesday happens twice next week. So make sure you guys keep an eye and an ear out for that. And the reason for this show today is because there was no Tuesday Night Titans on Tuesday, because we both covered the NXT show on our respective channels. But I haven't done a flagship show in, I would say, close to a year. It might be just about a year. And I should really get back to it. I honestly think I'm going to get back on that in the new year. The reason why I pushed the flagship show away is because Tuesday Night Titans was born, and I've always done the thing on my own. I've always done, news videos, and I got the news out when it broke, and, you got your fix that way. 20, 30 minutes. It's a lot. Could be a podcast in itself. I just opt to go a little bit longer. But Tuesday Night Titans was born, and then I've always wanted to work with a co-host. I've always wanted to have a partner where we could just kind of take over the scene, and that's what we did. Obviously, Drew started the show, still in communication with Drew weekly, and then obviously Jason is now the new co-host on Tuesday night. So, I like that format. I like when we can just sit down and kind of talk and debate, and I really like what the show has transformed into, because it honestly feels like you guys are with us at the bar and we're just kind of talking pro wrestling while having a couple of drinks. So that's what I've always wanted the vibe to be. It's very difficult doing a show weekly just by myself. I'm here every single night by myself. You guys get my full thoughts, unfiltered, unadulterated thoughts on Monday, on Wednesday, on Friday, during every PLE, every pay-per-view. So the reason why I pushed the podcast away was because I wanted something a little bit different in TNT, and that's what I got. So hopefully within the new year, we come up with a little bit of a different plan of action, and we bring back the flagship show, because I do miss it, and it is me. So hopefully you guys enjoy what's going on regardless of what I do on here and what I cover. You guys get your news regardless from this channel, no matter what I'm doing. So I'm glad that you're here. We got a lot of news to get into, and I don't want to waste a lot of your time. You guys know all of the bullshit, social media, YouTube, everything you need, linked down below in the description. You guys want to follow me on social media, at JD from NY206. That's on X. I'm mostly on X. If you guys want to follow me on other social media outlets, TikTok, I'm there. I don't really post on there. It's very sporadic. Obviously, I am on Instagram. Don't really use it. If you guys want to follow me on there, but X, I am mainly on X. That's where we usually push the feeds, push the podcasts, give you my thoughts during the shows. So make sure you guys follow me on there. We're nearing 60,000 followers on X. We just hit 162,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. So if you guys are new and haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below. We have a new second channel where we have short form content that you guys might have missed during the week. It's filtering out over there. JD from NY Shorts. That is linked down below in the description. Go and check all that out as well. And anything else that you need, again, everything you need is linked down in the description. Go check out all the other content. It's there. We were live on Monday for Raw. Tuesday, I covered NXT. Jesse and I had a tremendous AEW Dynamite post-show last night. So make sure you guys go and check that out. I'm live today. I'll be live on Friday for SmackDown. We'll be live on Saturday night with Bad Blood. So there's a lot going on. And shout out to my Twitch family. We are live on Twitch. Thank you guys for joining me over there as well. Hit that thumbs up. We have just a little bit over 1,000 people in here, with people still filtering in. Let's try and hit that thumbs up. Let's set the goal for 750 likes today on episode 477. Super chats are open. Get them on in. We'll hang out at the end of the show. And as always, enjoy a couple of cold beverages. And tonight's show sponsored by DraftKings, DraftKings.com. Make sure you guys go and check them out. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use my promo code JD from NY. We have UFC 307 coming up this weekend. And if you guys want to get in on all that action, DraftKings has got you covered because they are tonight's sponsor right here on OTS. I guess we should start with some AEW news. We'll build into the TV rights negotiations, and I want to kind of go over what happened on Dynamite last night. We celebrated 5 years of AEW, and I said last night it certainly didn't feel like AEW. It doesn't feel like AEW. It feels like a company that is completely lost. We celebrated 5 years of AEW last night, and I said word for word, the magic of AEW that once was special, that once was unique, and was an alternative to WWE, that magic is gone. Vince McMahon made it easy for Tony Khan to go out there and book a great wrestling show because in comparison to what Vince McMahon was doing, Tony Khan could do no wrong. Now that Paul Levesque is in charge and basically doing what Tony Khan was doing with his own show over on WWE television, plus some, AEW television has kind of taken a turn for the worse. Nothing makes sense. There's logic gaps galore. There's an overbloated roster. And everybody is celebrating a TV rights deal that is great for AEW. It's great for the business. And it's great for everybody that works there. But there's not one single human being that works there that is going to say what needs to be said because they work for AEW. This is where content creators like myself come in. AEW is in trouble. I don't give a shit what a TV deal says. I don't give a shit how much money they're making per this TV deal. There are problems and they need to be addressed. Livegate, all the attendance from every show, Dynamite, pay-per-views, Collision, they all need to be addressed. Why have people stopped coming to the shows? That is a question that needs to be asked and answered immediately. Why have the ratings year over year? Why have the demos year over year in that sacred 18 to 49 demo? Why have they taken a nosedive over the last 3 years? That is a question that needs to be asked, and those need to be given as far as why. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. They don't know why. They won't answer it. Why has creative taken a turn for the worse? I have a very simple answer as to why that is, too. Just look at who's running the show. He's basically Vince Jr. without the sexual allegations. AEW is in trouble no matter 170 million, 180 million, 200 plus million per year, depending on what happens with their new rights deal with Fox. That's going to put them over the $200 million benchmark. There are problems within AEW, and they need to be addressed ASAP. I don't know how they go about it. I don't know where they start answering these questions, but they need to be addressed immediately. Dynamite last night is the perfect example. I don't even need to go back and give you any other example. Dynamite last night is the perfect example. 2 weeks ago, I ranted about Will Ospreay and Ricochet and why they were booking this dream match on AEW Dynamite. Sure, all the excuses came in a mile a minute. Oh, it's a 5-year anniversary show. Oh, they want to put on a big show. They want to go out with a bang for their 5-year anniversary show. That's fantastic. You know what would go out with a bang? Story that people and fans are invested in. AEW has this notion that if they continue to put on dream matches, they will come. But the thing is, they aren't coming. Fans aren't coming. They were in Pittsburgh last night, and they only sold 4,500 tickets. That match was made 2 weeks ago. Any other show with a proper management in place, any other show that would give these two guys meaning, emotion, and story, they would have sold the building out because of who they are and what they can do in that ring. Tony Khan went about it and said, I just hired Ricochet, and we're going to put him in a match with Will Ospreay right now because this is what our fan base wants to see. This is for the sickos. And most importantly, that's what Tony Khan wants to see. Match felt ice cold. In every sense of the word, the match felt ice cold. Was it good? Sure. There's no way Will Ospreay can deliver a bad match. There's no way Ricochet can deliver a bad match. They are two great professional wrestlers. But the thing is, you didn't give these guys a canvas to go out there and paint. They went in there cold. They went in there with nothing behind them. They went in there with 12 years of history. They went in there with their last match happening in 2007. They went in there with not many people knowing what these two guys are about or why they're even in the ring wrestling. All Tony presented it as was two guys who are going to deliver a great pro wrestling match. I said this last night on the Dynamite post. I saw Tony Khan dangling the puppet strings above his fanciest toy in Will Ospreay, his newest shiny toy in Ricochet, and he's playing action figures. That's exactly what he did last night. No rhyme, no reason, no emotion, no reason to care outside of Will Ospreay being the best pro wrestler in the world right now and Ricochet being a talented guy in his own right. They didn't do anything that we haven't seen before. You take Will Ospreay and everything that he's delivered so far this year in 2024, he's wrestled Konosuke Takeshita, banger. He's wrestled Bryan Danielson, absolute banger. He wrestled Swerve Strickland, maybe one of the best matches of the entire year. He's wrestled MJF twice, once in a 60-minute, almost 60-minute Broadway, and then again at Wembley at All In, which was another great match, another classic. Both matches will be on the best of 2024 list, maybe both of them in the top 10. And then we get to Ricochet. What did they do last night that wowed you? What did they do last night that you haven't seen before in a Will Ospreay match? What have they done that wasn't done in all those matches that I just mentioned? They didn't do a fucking thing that blew anybody away. They didn't do anything that was new, that was exhilarating, that was fresh, exciting, or original. Most importantly, they didn't do anything that was original. How could they? They had no story. What Tony Khan doesn't understand is that Ricochet was exposed last night. Tony Khan exposed AEW for the shit creative that they really are. He put Ricochet in a match with the best pro wrestler in the world, and outside of everything that we've seen up until this point, you have to ask yourself one very important question. What makes Ricochet a good get for AEW? What makes Ricochet special in AEW? How could he be special in AEW when he's a more watered-down version of Will Ospreay? Now, that doesn't mean that I don't like what Ricochet brings to the table. That's not me saying Ricochet is not talented and not a great pro wrestler. I put Ricochet over for many, many, many years. I've called Ricochet matches in the past. He's incredible. But what makes him special standing next to Will Ospreay? What makes Ricochet special in AEW when Tony Khan has 25 other Ricochets on the same roster? See, this is what they need to do, and this is what they need to go out there and fix. How are you going to make something like this match special when you got 25 other Ricochets on that roster doing the same exact thing? How do we make this match special? How do we make him stand out? We build story. They didn't do that. They didn't give a shit about building story because to them, their sickos don't want a story. Their sickos just want a match. I don't know how many times I have to explain this to you. I feel like I'm fucking a broken record. I feel like I'm blue in the face every time I talk about this. What brings people to the arena? What? Story. Emotional investment. Good guy versus bad guy, with the crowd wanting to see the bad guy get his ass kicked after weeks and weeks and weeks of story. It is a very simple story to tell. You take anything with anybody and add a dash of emotion into it. people will come out and watch and spend their hard-earned money to see this story play out. There's no greater example than what we've seen with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline and what he was doing as the honorary Uce. People were lining up to see what was going to be done next. People lined up to see if Sami was going to turn. People lined up after the fact when Sami did turn on Roman at the Royal Rumble, only to then start another story with trying to get back at Roman and the Bloodline because that connection with Kevin Owens was there. When that moment happened, how many people were emotionally invested in that? People were so emotionally invested in Sami Zayn stabbing Roman Reigns in the back that they were legitimate cheers and legitimate tears from adult men in the front row because of how emotional the story played out. Has there ever been a story within AEW that played out that way, where grown men were in the front row shedding a tear? That's pro wrestling. That is what is going to bring people back into the venue. That is what is going to make people come out and watch your show on a weekly basis and the ratings take an increase. They don't have any of that anywhere on the roster, and it fucking shows. Tony Khan would rather be popular online to his sicko fan base than actually character development, than actually write a storyline with emotion, which I don't even think he knows how to. I don't think his team knows how to. I think his team are honestly a bunch of fucking imbeciles who don't know right from wrong, up from down, left from right. I don't think they know a fucking thing. These people are only there and are only hired to appease one man, and that is Tony Khan. This is why I say, with everything that they got from this TV rights deal, Tony Khan should invest in a creative writing team. Tony Khan should take a step back and say, you know what, guys? I'm going to take a step back. I got 16 other fucking hats that I'm wearing, plus the Jacksonville Jaguars are 0-4. Can I go and just worry about what I got to do? I'm going to remain in the shadows and still be the final say on everything, but I want you guys to go out there and write me a show that makes sense, that has emotion, that is going to correct these wrongs and right the ship for AEW. That's what needs to be done. But he's not going to do that. That's not going to happen. He's power hungry, he micromanages, and he doesn't give a shit what he puts on TV. He would rather be the cool booker. He would rather be the cool CEO in front of his sicko fan base than actually sit down and be a businessman and right all the wrongs that are wrong currently with AEW. And that's not to say that I didn't like what AEW has done. There has been stretches of television where I've actually told Tony himself that this is the best block of television that AEW has produced. Happened in March, happened back in August, leading into All In. They have had glimmers of what the show needs to be, and then they fall right back on their, we can't do no wrong to the sickos. Let's start booking matches, and let's start making things not make sense. Tony would rather be a friend. Tony would rather be cool to the internet community, the internet wrestling community, than go out there and do what he needs to do to make his show better. He don't give a shit. And this is what I'm afraid of. This is what I'm afraid of when it comes to this TV rights deal, because not only is Tony not to be trusted, but their fan base is loyally following blindly, brainwashed, and they don't see anything that's wrong. Banger matches. JD doesn't like great professional wrestling. Couldn't be more wrong. I do love great professional wrestling. We're seeing great professional wrestling in the Fed, right? Of course I like great professional wrestling. But you know what the Fed is doing that AEW is not doing? They're giving me great professional wrestling with story. They're giving me great professional wrestling with meaning. They're giving me great professional wrestling with emotion. AEW is just giving you great professional wrestling. Don't you get it? Don't you understand that with great story comes better pro wrestling? Such a simple concept that their fan base doesn't understand. What I'm worried about is that they're going to get lazy. They're going to look at $200 million per year plus, and they're going to get lazy. They are going to say, ha-ha, we proved all the experts wrong. Ha-ha, we proved all the haters wrong that wanted us to die. And they're going to continue to do what they've been doing because they got what they wanted and they suckered Warner Brothers into a $200 million per year contract over 3 years. That's what I'm afraid of, because that's what Vince McMahon did. Vince got his money from the Saudis. Vince got his money from Fox. Vince got his money from USA Network. And he took it and ran like the Joker in Gotham. Fucking never to be seen again. That's what I'm worried about. He didn't give a shit to make the show better. He did not make the show better. There was no inkling of that show getting better. But they got their billions. They got all their money from the Saudis. They don't give a shit. And that's what I'm worried about when it comes to Tony Khan. I hope he proves me wrong. I'm not holding my breath. But Tony doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And it showed. It showed last night on Dynamite. On top of that, the Ricochet and Will Ospreay match, there was a fuck finish in the match. Both guys covered each other, only to then restart the match and then have Konosuke Takeshita come out. Why didn't you give me the Konosuke Takeshita DQ in the first place? Why did you have to start the match, give the fans hope that this match was going to continue for another 5-10 minutes to get a real winner, only to disappoint them again and give me a second fuck finish in less than 2 minutes? Who goes about making decisions like that and says, yeah, man, that was the right decision? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I've given you guys more than enough over my years covering Dynamite. I've given you guys every ounce of emotion, every ounce of passion that I could give you in covering AEW. But there is no battling this fan base. This fan base is what's obviously bringing the company down in the eyes of many, many, many people. The fan base of AEW is their worst trait. And it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse, because all we've seen online is fuck Jim Cornette, fuck Eric Bischoff, fuck Raj Giri, fuck JD from New York. I never said I never wanted AEW to get a TV deal. I never said that they weren't going to get a TV deal. People were trying to say, ha, we got JD because he put a thumbnail out saying that Warner Brothers knows that Tony is not getting a TV deal, or Tony knows that Warner wants the other Khan, is what I said, meaning Nick Khan. Meanwhile, you clicked a thumbnail because it was interesting to you, and the context that was in the video that everybody was saying, ha, we got you, you couldn't be more wrong. We discussed what was pertinent in that situation last year. We discussed that Warner and Triple H and Nick Khan met with each other, and there was a potential TV deal that was possibly happening. And we discussed Tony Khan's demeanor going into the Full Gear media call and the Full Gear post-show media scrum. We discussed all that. Nobody really watched the video. It was with me and Mr. Baydala. It was a great discussion. Everybody then thought Warner was going to get Raw. And then Raw, obviously, turn of the new year, we come to find out that they're jumping to Netflix. But if you think WWE only met with Netflix and made a deal with Netflix, and that was the one deal that they decided upon without meeting any other people, you got to be out of your fucking mind. WWE met with how many different people that were interested in getting the rights to Monday Night Raw? You don't think that there would be TV networks lining up to get the longest reigning episodic television show in television history on their network? I don't really understand people's stupidity. We talked about Warner. We talked about AEW and what could be if they didn't land on Warner, where they would go, and the whole thing around that. It was news then. And people claim clickbait and, they engagement farm, and they use my name in the title, and they try to get clicks and views and all this other shit because it's what generates interest. Any hate towards what we do, any hate towards Cornette is going to rile up the fan base. They come out like fucking an army of ants. Forget about it. It's all over at that point. You cannot steer these people into common sense. You can't level and reason with these people. I urge you to go watch that video because it was a great discussion. I actually watched it back. I said, man, oh man, that TNT is fucking great. What me and Drew did, what me and Jason are doing right now, TNT's a fucking great show, man. And I'm not just saying that to pat myself on the back. TNT's a great fucking show. It really is. And if you ain't watching, then that's on you. That's your loss. But the TV rights deal is something that I am genuinely worried about, not because of how much money they're making. You, me, and everybody else shouldn't be worried about how much money AEW is making. I don't really get what this glazing is towards these billionaires. Yeah, Tony Khan is making a couple extra $1 million on top of his family riches. Fucking family's worth $9 billion. Yeah, let me feel sympathetic for Tony Khan there, man. He made another cool $200 million off his little pro wrestling project, man. His action, he's got the most expensive fucking action figures in the history of pro wrestling. Mattel couldn't make such a fucking glorious and prestigious action figure. Tony Khan's got all of them. That's what he treats his roster like. That's what he treats AEW like. But this is what I'm genuinely concerned about. Everybody's making a big deal about this. They would have survived with or without the TV deal. Tony wasn't going to let it die. They would land somewhere. Tony's got more money than you could ever imagine to keep AEW running and running the way he wants. He didn't need Warner. He only wanted to remain with Warner because of the ties that they have to the classics. And he feels like it's a nostalgic thing to be on Warner, a pro wrestling entity to be on Warner. But this TV rights deal was the talk of the town last night. And I got all the breakdown here. So in the hours following the official announcement, Warner Brothers Discovery, AEW, and the TV rights deal, Sean Ross Sapp, he put together on Fightful Select everything that happened from the beginning of yesterday up until the end of Dynamite. So we have a lot of details right now. As of right now, Dynamite and Collision will remain on Wednesday and Saturday, respectively, and AEW Rampage will no longer air on Warner Brothers Discovery. Rampage was a show that Warner Brothers Discovery had requested in 2021, but upon the new deal, both sides prioritized Dynamite and Collision. Warner Brothers Discovery noted that Rampage could end up elsewhere, but we've yet to hear any plans regarding that brand, says Fightful. Good. Rampage, and this is going out to all the sickos, Rampage is one of the most useless hours of pro wrestling in the history of pro wrestling. It's up there with WWE Superstars. It's up there with WWE Main Event. It's up there with WWE Speed. It's up there as one of the worst hours of pro wrestling television that anybody could possibly consume. It did nothing. Rampage hasn't been important since the very first episode, where they used it as a platform to bring CM Punk out of retirement after 7 years. AEW Rampage hasn't been important since Christian Cage beat Kenny Omega for the TNA Championship on AEW Rampage, on that second episode where he beat Kenny Omega in the first match to open the show. Rampage then felt like the true B show. Everybody thought Rampage was going to be the true B show. And then all of a sudden, week after week, month after month, year over year, it devolved into being nothing more than Tony Khan putting up his favorite toys in the ring and letting them wrestle with no story, no emotion for the sickos, just to get Tony Khan a hard-on, sitting in Gorilla watching another hour of pro wrestling that nobody gives a shit about. That's basically what AEW Rampage became. On top of that, he sullied the brand with so much Ring of Honor, which is a dead brand, by the way, and no mention of Ring of Honor in this TV rights deal because nobody gives a shit about Ring of Honor. He dirtied Rampage over the years with a ton of Ring of Honor influence, and nobody gives a flying fuck about Ring of Honor. I am so happy Rampage is canceled because it was fucking awful. You would never catch me dead watching Rampage. There was zero reason to go out and watch Rampage. You watch Rampage and you sit in front of your TV from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. and you genuinely feel depressed that you're living in this life because there's nothing else better for you to do on a Friday night than watch AEW Rampage. Good. Nobody will miss it. Nobody will care. I hope it dies, and I hope it never comes back. Collision and Dynamite, though, they will be the same. And I feel the same way about Collision. Collision is one for the tribalists out there, because I'm sure they'll get wind of this. Collision is just like Rampage, but not as awful as Rampage was. It's there. It's very close. But Collision has not been the same since Mr. Phil Brooks was leading the show. Collision has not been the same since the very first month of AEW Collision on TNT. He was there, and the show rocked. The show was great. The show felt like NXT Black and Gold on fucking primetime Saturday night. And then he got fired, and then that first show that they conducted with that roster and the Young Bucks took a celebratory lap in the ring because Punk was fired. Collision died on that night. Now it's just another breeding ground for 2 hours for Tony Khan to get a hard on, and we see people that are Ring of Honor. We see people that aren't even contracted to the company wrestling on the show. It's a mixture of AEW Rampage. It's a mixture of AEW Elevation. It's a mixture of AEW Dark, all into one. It doesn't have anything to do with Dynamite. It's not a true B show, even though it should be. But then you'll get the elitists who are like, oh, well, you don't watch Collision because they give me no reason to watch Collision. Oh, but you missed a promo by Chris Statlander. All right, so you want me to think that they are flowing Dynamite into Collision and Collision into Dynamite when 99% of the show is nothing but random fucking matches. It's like a bag of trail mix. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to pull out. And you want me to watch because, oh, I need storyline progression on why Chris Statlander's not getting a championship match against Mariah May, but Willow is. Chris Statlander cut a promo on Collision. JD would know that and know the story if he watched Collision. Wow, man. 90 seconds on a 2-hour fucking show. Color me fucking bored. Nobody's watching Collision. You know who's watching Collision? The sickos who have no social life, no friends, no woman, no hobbies in life. They sit there in front of their television with their little sippy cups and their little fucking finger foods, and they watch Collision on a Saturday night. And then they get tucked into bed where their mother serves them a nice glass of milk, and she tucks you in and reads your bedtime story. How was AEW Collision, honey? Did you see your favorite hologram on the show? He looks super duper on the show last night. He does all those flips and dives. He looks so cool. Give me a fucking break. Are you fucking serious? Nobody gives a fuck. You know what I want? Story. Give me fucking story. I wish both shows would fucking die 1,000 deaths. Holy shit. It's fucking ridiculous. Sounds like a good night, I know. Yeah, you got people legitimately out there. Collision's so much better in the post-punk era. No, that's just you being ignorant and neglecting the fact that your show is dead without CM Punk. Do you genuinely think Collision's better without CM? CM Punk is the highest rated segment on Monday Night Raw since his return. And you're claiming that Collision is better without CM Punk? Man, tell me you miss CM Punk without telling me you miss CM Punk, man. Holy shit. The show was better. The roster was better. Everybody wrestled like they fucking cared. Now it's nothing more than fucking Beast Mortos and hologram because Tony Khan needs to fucking get his heart on to watch his luchadors go at it in a fucking flip fest for 15 minutes. Jesus fucking Christ. Yes, and I do like finger foods too, man. I'm like Dominic. I like my chicken tendies, okay? And I like my boneless wings. Sorry for all you bone-in geeks. I like a good bone-in, but I prefer boneless. Any questions? Moving on with the rest of this TV rights deal story. As it pertains to the AEW library right now, the plan is to have Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage's full library included on Max. So if everybody was wondering where you can get up and watch AEW on demand, you have the entire library of what they did in 5 years on Max. That is the best part about it all. So I could go back and watch Week 7 in the glory days of AEW Dynamite, where fans came from worlds far and wide to go watch Dynamite live in person, where they actually had 12,000 people in attendance, compared to 2024, where they can't even fit 2,000 on a random Dynamite in I don't know where the fuck I am, Ohio. If Rampage does go elsewhere, the library moving forward will not be on Warner Brothers Discovery. Nobody wants Rampage, and it ain't going elsewhere. And I don't even think if it's on Warner Brothers, anybody really gives a shit to watch anything but those first 2 episodes. And maybe a random Pac versus Andrade match that I'm sure was a banger. Or Andrade and Darby, which I remember were banger matches. Regarding financial reports of the deal, Fightful's told that neither AEW or Warner Brothers Discovery disclosed these details. Variety said it would be near $150 million per year. Sports Business Journal heard $170 million per year. Fightful Select reported earlier this year that at least double what they had been making was offered, which would have been at least $140 to $150 million. However, those that we spoke to said that when Puck had originally reported the $170 million a year number, that would end up being low compared to what AEW would end up getting. AEW will also get pay-per-view revenue as a result of the pay-per-view events airing at a discounted rate on Max. Let me stop there. That is the part that I am a little befuddled by. Now, the $150 million per was the original number. That was reported yesterday. Then it went up to $170 million. WrestleVotes reported that it's near $185 million per year. Good for them. Good for them. I'm glad that they suckered Warner Brothers into a large financial contract for such a middle-of-the-road product. It's great. Tony Khan knows how to fucking really reel them in and sucker them in. This does not include pay-per-view revenue. This does not include the rumor of AEW Shockwave, which I'll get to in a second because Swerve Strickland might have let the cat out of the bag on that one, that they would be landing on a Fox entity. We don't know how much that's going to be for a 1-hour show, 52 weeks out of the year, anywhere between $25 million and $30 million, maybe, for an AEW IP, brand new show, Shockwave on FS1. We'll see. We don't know where it's going to end up. It's all speculation right now. So if that's the case, and we look at the $170 million, and we look at the possibly $25 to $30 million, plus the pay-per-view revenue that they would be getting, this easily brings AEW and the entire company for the year over $200 million over the next 3 years. That's $200 million per year. So we're probably looking at 3 years, which is the contract length, with a 4th-year option. We don't know if that's on Warner Brothers or AEW to renew. $600 million plus. For a 5-year company, that's tremendous. For a 5-year company, that is tremendous. I take nothing away from that being a great feat. I don't give a shit, though. I don't. The fact that they did that, good on them. Fans want creative. They want good television. How does this translate into good television? That's going to be up to the management. That's going to be up to Tony Khan. The pay-per-views airing on Max at a discounted rate. I don't know, because this is what fans wanted most, why the pay-per-views and everything that Tony Khan usually does. We have 9 pay-per-views per year for AEW. I think that they will use the other months and add 3 other pay-per-views to make it a total of 12. I think that is the direction that they want to go in. 12 pay-per-views per year. That's the vision. They started at 4, then they went up to 6. Now we're at 9, and before long, we're going to get 12. So if they're $50 a pop, Tony Khan usually brings in anywhere between 120 to 130,000 pay-per-view buys, depending on the show, depending on the build. That could be 150,000, maybe 160,000 pay-per-view buys. Even those are down from the CM Punk days, because CM Punk was the first man to bring their pay-per-view buys over 200,000, but nobody wants to mention that. So Tony Khan is probably raking in, estimated, a cool $60 million in just pay-per-view revenue alone. I don't know why Warner Brothers wouldn't pay AEW a large sum of money, even more so than what they usually make revenue-wise, to get the pay-per-views on Max and really just focus in on subscriptions to the service, which would then lead to fans maybe finding AEW. Maybe you don't know what AEW is. Maybe you are disenfranchised with AEW, but you got Max and you're paying for a certain tiered subscription, and you could get to watch Max and the AEW pay-per-views with no added charge. And then you see this one and that one and this show and that show, and you're like, man, these shows are fucking great. Now I really know what everybody's talking about. Now I really get what everybody says, that Tony Khan is Mr. Pay-Per-View. This show was great. So you not only got people to potentially sign up for Max to watch AEW, create a new fan, you've now taken someone who's already subscribed to Max, that don't like AEW, that don't know what AEW is, and converted them into a new fan. And you multiply that over hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people. Why didn't they go that route? Instead, from what I'm reading here, they're going to come at a discounted rate. We don't know what that means. Are they going to raise the level of subscriptions for Max? What's the price monthly for the subscription going to be? Is it going to be $24.99? Is it going to be $29.99, $34.99? And then they're going to offset that by charging whatever the remainder is for the AEW pay-per-views? Or are they going to discount the AEW pay-per-views as is from $50 to $44.99 or $39.99, and you still got to pay to watch the pay-per-views on Max? Why would anybody want to pay a subscription to Max and then pay for the pay-per-views when you could just go to a traditional pay-per-view provider and pay the $50 price tag, or go to Triller TV Plus and pay the $50 price tag, or wherever you guys are getting your AEW pay-per-views and pay one price tag? Why is anybody going to pay 2 times to watch one show when you could pay 1 time and watch the show that you probably are watching now in the same manner that you're watching right now? I don't get it. I don't really understand it. To me, that's a huge, huge L. For pro wrestling fans, yeah, you get in the library. That's fucking fantastic. But everybody knows that pay-per-views are the bread and butter for AEW. They do no wrong on pay-per-view. The fact that you did that speaks volumes, man. That's a big L. A big L. Now, this is something that WWE, I absolutely think, is going to do. This is the UFC model. I don't watch UFC. I don't subscribe to ESPN Plus. I don't know what the subscription is for ESPN Plus. I don't know what it costs to buy a UFC pay-per-view on top of an ESPN Plus subscription. I don't know, nor do I care. But WWE, I have a feeling, when they want to go and branch out because they're all about making the money, I honestly think that WWE is going to charge for a premium monthly subscription. And then when it comes to Royal Rumble, because WWE's already got WrestleMania 2 nights, SummerSlam's 2 nights, absolutely no doubt about it. WWE is going to move the Rumble to 2 nights. WWE is going to move WrestleMania, right? They got 2 nights. SummerSlam is now 2 nights starting next year. Survivor Series is going to be 2 nights. I could see them doing 2-night Money in the Banks. WWE is going to have you pay for their Big 5 premium price to watch on whatever streaming service that WWE Network is on. And then, as a bonus, you'll get the Elimination Chamber. You'll get all the other B-level pay-per-views, Backlash, King of the Ring, Bad Blood, whatever the case may be. WWE is absolutely going to do that. That is the WWE model. For AEW, I got to say, they're the alternative. They're supposed to be doing everything that WWE is, opposite of what WWE is doing. Instead, they're doing exactly what WWE is doing monetarily with this move. Because I absolutely see WWE going that direction. Again, a huge L. A huge L for AEW. A huge L to lure new fans. A huge L to get new fans to watch your product that aren't watching or have been disenfranchised with the product. Stop watching. Maybe getting them back on board with what you're doing. Not a good move. That's the only part of this TV deal I legitimately cared about. Of all the details of the deal internally, pay-per-views being paywalled and then still costing money was the only one met with negativity, says Fightful. When we asked those in AEW, they pointed at the UFC point of view of if you cannibalize your pay-per-view model, you can't go back. A good example of this is WWE moving to the network format and now being unable to capitalize on big pay-per-view sales now that they're hot. Although one Warner Brothers source said that the ease of access of WWE's PLE events could be a big reason why they're so successful now. Sounds like a risk that they're not willing to take, but WWE, they're in a good place right now, so it's not really bothering them all as much. AEW can ill afford to make this decision when a lot of their money comes from pay-per-view revenue. We're told this model could end up changing for AEW and Warner Brothers down the road. Sports Business Journal had also reported that Warner Brothers had an equity stake in AEW that they retained. Thus far, neither AEW or Warner Brothers Discovery have confirmed this, though the Sports Business Journal, I believe, put out a press piece that did mention that Warner Brothers Discovery did have equity stake in AEW, but obviously the internal financial numbers of that were not discussed because nobody really knows, and AEW is not a publicly traded company, so none of us really know what that is. How much ownership does AEW, or rather Warner, have in AEW, and how much does Tony Khan have? Again, we don't know. That's a huge part of it that nobody really knows, but it's there because Sports Business Journal put out a press release. It was in there that they said it, and Tony Khan has even alluded to it as well and kind of danced around the question and would not answer the question head on. That was, I believe, last year when the talks of these TV deals first started making the rounds on social media. True TV and Ring of Honor were never mentioned to us or in the press materials. AEW did regain some additional elements in the deal. Since the announcement of Collision in 2023, Warner Brothers maintained exclusivity, which is why AEW Dark went away. However, under this new deal, AEW regains those rights. There have been mentions internally about possibly using Dark in the future, though nothing is confirmed. AEW Dark is basically Rampage. I don't know what they would do with that show. I don't know why they would bring something back. I don't know why we need all these hours of AEW television. I really don't. So I don't really care about none of that. I don't care about the financials. I don't care how much money they're making. It's all about the streaming, pay-per-views, and the library. Library we got. The pay-per-views, like Sapp said in this report from Fightful, it was the only part of it that was met with any negativity because it is a huge, glaring negative. So in summary, from what we learned about the AEW TV deal, WrestleVotes I did mention earlier, they reported that the deal on annual average is closer to $185 million. That is not including pay-per-view revenue, and that's not including the shockwave rumors and where that show may land and how much they may be getting from another TV partner. Both Warner Brothers and AEW sources had no knowledge of any equity situation, and reps said they never been breached on that topic. Dynamite and Collision will air in their normal time slot and days. Dynamite is not getting an additional third hour. They will both remain at 2 hours. Also, they will both be streamed on Max. So I wonder how that is going to affect the ratings. So that's also a great deal because some people don't pay for cable TV. Some people have cut the plug altogether, and you may not be able to watch AEW programming where your situation is right now. If you got Max and you want to watch AEW, paying $9.99 or $11.99 or whatever it is to subscribe to Max, now you can watch AEW Dynamite and Collision because they will be streamed on TNT, TBS, and simultaneously on Max. So that's great. That's great. This was an important factor for both sides. Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage. Replays will be on the library and in the library footage available on Max. Pay-per-views will be added to Max for a discounted price to subscribers in 2025, so it's not happening imminently. Rampage will not be featured on Warner Brothers in 2025. AEW gets more money for less programming. Ring of Honor and True TV were not mentioned in the press materials, and Warner Brothers had exclusivity over AEW's broadcast content on TV, but now do not. So that is everything that we know right now about the AEW TV rights deal. Good for them. Again, it all goes back to what I said earlier. I hope they don't get lazy. I hope they don't take this, ha, 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 we proved everybody wrong mentality, ha, ha, ha. Now we can sit back and just kind of coast for the next 3 years. No, this is where the work now begins. You worked to get to this point, and now you have to work harder to keep it and make more money after this 3 or 4 years is up. And I've always said, especially the last 12 to 18 months, AEW cannot continue to do the same thing that they did in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. It only got worse. They can't continue to do what they've been doing up until this point and expect Warner Brothers or whoever would be interested in giving them TV rights to shell out more money. The reason why he hired Will Ospreay and Okada and Mercedes and put together this fucking unbelievable roster of talent is for this very reason. How long are these people going to be with AEW? Tony Khan needs to do more than just show Warner Brothers, hey, look at all the shiny new toys I got. He's going to have to eventually write compelling, captivating television that is going to bring people out to the arenas, get people to willingly spend money, and get people to get up off their couch and what they're doing, watching something else, to tune into AEW Dynamite. He needs to start taking a different approach. I just don't have any faith in him doing that at all. Swerve Strickland. He was filmed, supposedly, and he mentioned that AEW is about to get on Fox. Again, take this with a grain of salt. So Swerve Strickland dropped this major tease, and over the last few weeks, a new television deal between AEW and Warner Brothers has been the topic of discussion. It's been a done deal for a while. They just announced it yesterday. While interviewing with Queen's Flippy. Again, if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. I don't know who this person is, nor do I give a shit. Former AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland said AEW would be on Fox after WWE SmackDown left the network. Strickland said, and I quote, "We're about to move. We're about to get on Fox because SmackDown is leaving Fox. And then we're taking Fox, TNT, TBS, and Fox. We got all 3 of them things. And Tony Khan lets me do whatever the fuck I want. He owns the Jacksonville Jaguars." Sean Ross Sapp reported that it wasn't intentional and he will not speak for Swerve, but there were definitely people in AEW that wished that didn't get out. From what I was told, he says he didn't know a camera would be vlogging right then and there when he said it. Well, maybe he should keep everything close to the vest. Tony Khan doesn't really let the cat out of the bag. He doesn't talk about anything, but here we got Swerve out there saying, well, Tony Khan lets me do whatever the fuck I want. I mean, maybe we should just take a different approach about that. Again, people ran with that. People made a big deal about it. We don't know. We don't know what Fox entity that will be on. Will it be on Fox proper? Will it be on FS1? Will it be somewhere else? How much money? We don't know. What the name of the show is, what the basis of the show is going to be. Is it going to be a true B show? Is it going to be a C show? Is it just going to be Rampage that is now on Fox instead of being on TBS or TNT? I don't know. I have no idea. But Tony Khan says that AEW is about to send a shockwave out to professional wrestling. We'll see. Konosuke Takeshita He's slated for a push in AEW, as you guys saw last night. This report came out right before Dynamite, and Takeshita has been appearing in main events and facing off with numerous top stars in the company. Fightful Select reported that this isn't an accident, and Takeshita is expected to get a big push very soon that will see him factored into a major program. That major program showed face last night on Dynamite, where Ricochet and Will Ospreay gave us a very, very mid-level match to both of their standards, to be fair, with Konosuke Takeshita coming in and causing a DQ after a restart that happened at the end of the match last night. Tony Khan went on and booked Konosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet versus Will Ospreay in a triple threat match for the AEW International Championship, which I'm excited about because all three guys are great, and I'm sure it's going to be a banger match. But Konosuke Takeshita should have been pushed a year and a half ago. Now we're just leveling Takeshita up, and it's almost as if Tony Khan forgot he even existed. Why wasn't he in the Continental Classic last year, being built up then? He wasted most of this year putting other people over, and then he went to go do the G1, and then Tony Khan realized, hey, man, this guy's a really good pro wrestler. It's almost as if he was fucking clueless. So he came back from wrestling in the G1. He didn't win the G1. And now he's being factored into a program with Will Ospreay. I thought they were factoring him into a program with Okada because there was a moment where we saw both of them briefly get into a little bit of an exchange, and I thought that that's where they were going. Now, I do think that eventually they will cross paths because I don't see Okada dropping the Continental title before the tournament. So I do think that Tony kind of rerouted his plans, is doing Takeshita for the International Championship, is going to wait on Takeshita and Okada, and maybe revisit that when they do the Continental Classic, because I do see both of them ending up in the tournament together in the same block where we get one-on-one Konosuke and Okada. That's just my prediction. But I don't know why they booked this triple threat match. I mean, there's no fucking story. The whole story here is Will Ospreay, it doesn't look like he wants to be a part of the Don Callis family. And then obviously Takeshita, who is in the Don Callis family, attacked Will Ospreay. So it looks like that partnership is now severed. There was no story with Ricochet coming into the match. I really wish that they would have at least built a story between Ricochet and Ospreay before moving on to this triple threat match. Maybe them aligning together and forcing their hand together as a team to wrestle Takeshita and Fletcher. I mean, he's just throwing shit at the wall and hopes it sticks. This is just another one of those situations where it's another Tony Khan toy, you know, mixing it up with two other very popular Tony Khan toys. It's a triple threat match. For what? Who wins? Who loses? Takeshita can't lose. Ricochet can't lose. He's only been there for 5-6 weeks. And Will Ospreay just won the fucking title from MJF at All In. Who loses? From my point of view, looking from an outsider's perspective, looks like they booked themselves into a conundrum. Who wins? Who loses? I don't know. Shelton Benjamin. He officially signed with AEW, as you saw last night. Another member of the Hurt Syndicate, a.k.a. the Hurt Business, is now officially All Elite. Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp reported in September that MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley were all in talks with AEW, but the deals had not been finalized. However, following MVP's debut on AEW TV at Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe in New York City, it was confirmed by Fightful that he signed a contract. Now the same goes for Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, the latter of which has an impending debut. We're told that all three all nailed down their deals a number of weeks ago. MVP is expected to primarily serve as a manager, with Shelton and Bobby Lashley wrestling. Now, Ibu of Wrestling Purists reports that the Bobby Lashley situation is absolutely happening. This is after Benjamin was initially believed to be close to working with the promotion earlier this year. So Benjamin and Lashley are in via multiple sources. So MVP debuted at Arthur Ashe. Benjamin debuted last night. And I predicted with Darby Allin initialing himself on an AEW open contract open challenge for a match at WrestleDream in Tacoma that I could absolutely see Bobby Lashley debut in Tacoma at WrestleDream and answer the open challenge of Bobby Lashley. Jesse and I discussed this last night on the AEW Dynamite post, and I do see that happening. Darby has ties with Swerve. MVP came out and confronted Nana, who is Swerve's manager in Queens. So the tie-in to Swerve and Darby, both being from the greater Seattle, Washington area, I think that's the way that they're going to go. So we could potentially see Swerve and Darby kind of team up here, maybe against Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. We could see Benjamin versus Darby. We could see Lashley versus Swerve. That would be a nice placeholder to keep Swerve away from Paige, because I don't want to see them again together in the same place, in the same ring, until Adam Page wins the world championship. He should be world champion right now. I have a gripe with that. I think Adam Page should be wrestling Bryan Danielson at WrestleDream. I think Adam Page should be winning the world championship. I don't get this infatuation with Jon Moxley being the world champion. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't really give a shit about it. Am I intrigued about where it goes? Yeah, I am. Because you got this Shane McMahon, is it or isn't it, carrot hanging and dangling in front of us. Moxley said, this is bigger than the world title. This is bigger than you and me. It's not about us. Who is it about? What is it about? If that's what he's saying, it's bigger than the world title, it's bigger than you, it's bigger than me, it's not about us. So why is Moxley going after Bryan Danielson and the world championship? I don't get it. Does anybody want to see Jon Moxley as the AEW World Heavyweight Champion again? I don't think so. I love Jon Moxley. Don't get me wrong. I love Bryan Danielson. And Bryan Danielson probably asked for this match. But at some point, Tony's got to be a boss and say, Bryan, I love you. Gave you all in. You're about to go away for a little bit. You're going to be very, very, very part-time. I think what I need to do here is make sense of all this. We don't need you to drop the title to Moxley. Moxley and yourself could wrestle sometime next year after you elect to go get surgery and get yourself 100% or anywhere near 100%. Why don't we have Hangman take out Bryan, win the championship, retire Bryan in Tacoma, build his heel aura, and have Moxley cost Bryan the championship because he's been working with Shane McMahon, and whatever the problem is there and whatever the history is there, whatever the reason he's coming into AEW, you build upon that. Why does Jon Moxley and Shane McMahon potentially need the world championship? If it's bigger than the world championship, that means he doesn't really need the world championship. Their vision should be bigger than the world championship. Their change and how they're going to administer change to AEW should be the primary focus. I don't know why I see this through clearer eyes than the people that actually run this fucking company. Nobody wants to see Jon Moxley as the world champion. Nobody. I only think you're going to pigeonhole yourself in that situation. I would put it on Adam Page. To me, he's the absolute top of the top right now, and nobody's doing any better in that company right now than Page. And to me, if you are at the top of your game and better than anybody at this current time, then you should be the world champion. But he's not. It's going to Jon Moxley. And that sucks. Danny Garcia. His news is, or his name is still in the news feeds. After being written off television, Garcia returned to AEW programming during MJF and Will Ospreay at All In for the International Championship. He did cost MJF the win. Ospreay won the championship. He laid him out after the match was over. MJF went on to go film a movie, and he has another big movie that he's a part of. He is going to be starring alongside Adam Sandler in Happy Gilmore 2, which I'll get to in just a second. But his contract, Danny Garcia, is up in October 2024, which it is right now. So we got this month as D-Day for Danny Garcia. He is yet to resign. A previous update from Dave Meltzer noted that Garcia isn't on AEW television right now because he's not signed a new deal. Meltzer suggested confidence within AEW wasn't as strong about re-signing him as it once was. Ibu of wrestling purists, reports that AEW is still confident Garcia will resign. AEW also put together creative for him if he does opt to sign a new deal and return. Keeping Danny Garcia or letting Danny Garcia go is not going to be a make or break that people think it's going to be for AEW. In fact, in my honest and genuine opinion, AEW could absolutely afford to let talent walk. If they don't sign, it's no sweat off Tony Khan's back. Let him go to NXT. What are you going to do? You're going to throw the whole fucking vault at Danny Garcia to do what? Remain stagnant for most of his run while giving him 6 months of credit to make him feel special upon re-signing with the company? Where does he fit in? Genuinely ask yourself that question. Where does Danny Garcia fit in a meaningful way? The only reason why he would stay with AEW is because he's still young. He still has a whole career ahead of himself. He still has a blank canvas of sorts to continue to paint on in AEW. And he could use that for another 3 years to build his equity and build his stock for an even bigger payday when he then decides he wants to go and seek other opportunities. That's the only reason why he would stay in AEW. But right now, how hot WWE is, and with NXT gaining the momentum that they have, you don't think that's an interesting aspect for Danny Garcia to want to go out there and explore? He might not make as much money if he signed with WWE. Tony's going to throw everything he can at him so that he doesn't sign with WWE. That doesn't mean Tony wants to keep Danny Garcia. That only means WWE is knocking on the door, and Tony Khan will do whatever he can to keep WWE from signing Danny Garcia. But if he goes to WWE, you don't think he'll be treated better? You don't think he would flourish in that NXT system? He would make a name for himself there. And the opportunity, the spot will be there because I'm sure there will be call-ups very, very soon. Danny Garcia could fit right in. I don't know why we're making a big deal about whether he stays or whether he goes. Is he a great wrestler? Yes, he is. Is he going to be a great wrestler if he stays in AEW? Yes, he is. But he's just going to be another guy. That's what they have to be mindful of. MJF, he's co-starring alongside Adam Sandler in Happy Gilmore 2, according to PW Insider. MJF is playing Gordy, one of Sandler's sons in the film. So it looks like he's going to have a slightly major role here. The report added that Gilmore's sons are all strong kids, tough, crazy bastards with New England accents who have inherited their father's love for hockey. They all live out on their own and work blue-collar jobs. In the movie, Julie Bowen and Christopher McDonald will reprise their roles as Virginia and Shooter. One of the best movie villains ever is Shooter McGavin. Bad Bunny also joined the cast, and Sandler has teased that Kansas City Chiefs player Travis Kelce is on board for a cameo. MJF is right now filming a movie. I don't know if it's that one. I don't know if it's Happy Gilmore 2, but he was previously in The Iron Claw, which was a story on the Von Erichs, which I thought was great. But right now, he's not on AEW television. And he is sorely missed. Whenever he's not on television, he is sorely missed. MJF just brings a sense of emotion that many people don't really get. Everything he does, great in ring. He makes you feel where others don't, or others don't know how to. And he's missed when he's off television. It's a huge glaring hole in the roster when he's not there. He is the face of the company, in my honest opinion. Now, I said this when I talked about this previously last week. If MJF is going to do more and more movies, MJF is going to be that guy that is going to branch out and be more mainstream than anybody else that AEW ever has employed. This is going to be, a big thing for WWE because it's only going to build his star power. I do see MJF eventually jumping ship. That man wants everything that this business has to offer. Staying in AEW is not going to be it. I would not sit here and think MJF stays with AEW for his entire career. I don't see it happening. He's that breakout guy. He's going to be that mainstream breakout guy that you rarely see in pro wrestling. He's got it made. He's got it. So when it comes down to it, he's going to be the next household name. Maxwell Jacob Friedman is going to be the next big pro wrestling household name. Give it a few years. He's going to be on the level of some of the biggest WrestleMania main eventers, some of the biggest stars in the business when that time comes. The Lucha Brothers. This was another big L for Tony Khan and AEW Wrestling. Now, I talked about this previously, and I was very vocal about this when this story broke. And Fightful reported this summer that the contracts of Penta and Rey Fenix were set to expire this year, with WWE interested in bringing them aboard. Why wouldn't they? Beyond this, Penta had told numerous sources back in June, and since then, that he'd been in contact with WWE and stated that he and his brother were a package deal and that they wanted to go to WWE's main roster as opposed to NXT. Fightful's told that AEW became aware of this and saw evidence of at least one of the talent discussing their plans to move to WWE this summer. I find no problem with that whatsoever. They gave notice to AEW that they are not re-signing with the company. That's what I see. I don't know why it's got to be like, oh my God, we are so taken aback. We are so shocked. How could they do this to us? The fuck did you expect them to do? Look at where they're positioned in the company. They want more. They're not getting any younger. AEW had offered the Lucha Brothers a contract this summer, and we're hoping to retain the duo for years to come, and had immediate plans to put the trios titles on them and Pac at All In. However, Penta and Phoenix didn't sign those new deals, but sources that Fightful spoke to in AEW claimed they had not discussed or communicated plans to leave. I mean, it's a he said, she said, they said bullshit narrative. We don't really know what happened. I mean, if they didn't sign new deals and they were offered new deals and they didn't sign new deals, I would take that as then they are not interested in staying with AEW. Of course, AEW is going to claim that they have not discussed or communicated plans to leave. Penta and Phoenix are contractually bound to AEW. They don't have any say in the matter. So, of course, AEW is going to say, oh, they didn't discuss or communicate to us that they plan to leave. Of course. Anything to make AEW look good. The Wrestling Observer reported that a few months had been added to Penta's deal due to injury time by AEW, and Phoenix had substantially more time added. This matches up with what Fightful heard was likely to happen, as sources within WWE had been made aware as of last week that Phoenix wouldn't be imminently joining the company. Phoenix missed over 6 months between October 2023 and June 2024, well over 3 months from January 2022 to April 2022, and 3 months in 2021. When the time was added to Penta's deal, Fightful was told that was around the time he publicly tweeted that his present was AEW, as he was hoping that the situation didn't result in Phoenix being held to the injury time on his deal, as there's much more that could be added. We've not yet heard if AEW plans on having them work in the future or if they are on ice, but it was confirmed to us that they are under contract and they're still being paid. They did reach out, did Fightful, and didn't get a straight answer as to the motivation of extending the deals outside of AEW wanting to get the contracted time that they were signed for. And it is expected by talent that they'll be asked to put over other talent at least before they are planning to leave the company. When discussing contract tampering, there's no oversight or league that could do much about contract tampering, so to speak, says Fightful, and is not a law in sports as opposed to a rule in leagues. However, interference with contract that causes a breach is largely what is actually discussed when bringing up contract tampering in wrestling. This is why if you ever listen to a Bruce Pritchard podcast, he'll reference asking about the talent's contract status when they would inquire about work with WWE in the past. For those wondering, adding injury time has been common within all of pro wrestling, AEW, WWE, and TNA. That doesn't make it right or humane. Contrary to reports, Penta and Phoenix are not signed by WWE in any capacity, and WWE has never acknowledged any reports or rumors about them in any official capacity. My question is, AEW, they had slowly phased out the Lucha Brothers anyway. They had slowly phased out both Penta and Phoenix from anything of importance on television. The only thing that the report said about creative plans was, oh, if they sign the new contract, because AEW offered them a new deal, if they sign the contract, we were going to put the Trios Championships on them as if that's any consolation prize. Here you go. Thank you for signing with AEW. You know what I'm looking at if I'm Penta and Phoenix? Tony, we've been there. We've done that. Your division, your six-man division, your Trios division is largely fucking terrible. Your entire tag team division is fucking terrible. We don't want nothing to do with this. If we are not going to grow, if you are not going to continue to build upon what the Lucha Brothers are and who the Lucha Brothers are, we don't want to be here. We don't know what's been discussed. All we know from the report is that they were offered a contract and they did not sign. Yet AEW is out there that they claim that Lucha Brothers hadn't discussed or communicated any plans to leave. This is going to happen with just more than the Lucha Brothers, both Penta and Phoenix. Is AEW going to throw a hissy fit every fucking time? Is AEW going to add more time onto Ricky Stark's contract for him not being on TV? Are they going to add more time onto Miro's contract when his contract comes up, which could be a long time? How many others are going to have to go through this same situation? How many? He's paying both Rey Fenix and Penta to do nothing. If Tony Khan was such a smart businessman, he'd let Rey Fenix and Penta go. He doesn't care to use them. He showed you he doesn't care to use them all through 2024 and even in 2023. They are just there. What good is using them to put other people over when their stock and their equity in the company is so low? How is beating them going to advance or help anybody? I would rather cut myself free of all their financial contracts than bury them on TV, because that's all it'll be. Oh, they'll help put other talent over. In Tony Khan code language, in AEW fucking language, that's like, yeah, we're going to bury them. Because that's all it's going to end up being. They're going to put over other talent. In other words, yeah, we're going to bury Penta and Rey Fenix. And we're going to completely kill any equity and stock that they have before they go to WWE. That's all that means. Don't let that wording, don't let that narrative fool you. AEW doesn't want to use them to put over talent. AEW wants to use them to bury them on AEW television. And their brainwashed fans are going to say, oh, well, they were overrated anyway. What do you mean overrated? Penta is as charismatic as anybody on that roster. The guy could sell merchandise his merchandise flies off the shelf. Rey Fenix is one of the greatest luchadors of the modern generation. No, but they were overrated. AEW originals, overrated. Matches that AEW wishes they still did in that tag team division. They were known for some of the best matches in company history. No, but they're overrated. Because that's how fucking stupid, that's how stupidly loyal their fan base is. And how brainwashed Tony Khan has the AEW sickos. If you don't have any plans to use them, let them go. Tony Khan only tacked on time to Rey Fenix's contract because he wants to be petty. With all the times that he complained about Triple H and Stephanie McMahon doing him dirty, and how many times WWE did him dirty, and how many times WWE and Triple H contract tampered with his talent. You don't think Tony Khan, at first drop of a dime, would take any opportunity to ruffle WWE's feathers and put a fucking pin in the WWE balloon? He knew they were going to WWE. He knew they wanted to go to WWE, and he knew the reports and what they were saying. So what did he do? He added more time on top of Penta's contract. He added more time on top of Phoenix's contract. And if he saw an opportunity to stifle anything WWE related, whether it's momentum, getting both of them onto the roster, whether it's NXT or the main roster, whether it's get them their merchandise sales, and they would be selling merchandise left and right if they were characters on their television show, throwing a wrench into the creative gears, because I'm sure that there was creative already being mapped out for them. If Tony Khan saw all of that and was in eye shot and earshot of ruining any of that, he's going to take it because he's petty. Tony can be good petty and Tony could be bad petty, but this is a bad petty. I complained about this when WWE did it. I complained about it when Vince did it. I complained about it when Vince fired wrongfully people during the pandemic. Triple H is going to do it. It's not right. Then you got the AEW loyalists, the elitists, the tribalists. Oh, it's in Tony Khan's right. It's in the contract. I've never seen such pathetic, sad glazing for a billionaire, multi-billionaire who doesn't give a single shit about what you or me or anybody thinks. So why am I not going to come on here and point my finger of blame at him and call him petty? It is petty. When Tony wants to be, this is not Tony being a boss either, by the way. This is Tony putting his foot down because WWE is now in the picture and he doesn't want some AEW originals to go to AEW. This isn't Tony being a boss. This is Tony being a petty bitch. That's all it is. Tony wants to be a boss when he wants to be a boss. Most of the time, Tony wants to be their friend. But when things like this happen, oh, Tony's being a boss. Well, if he wanted to be a boss, he would have been a boss over the 5 years. If Tony wanted to be a boss, he'd fucking delegate and get the show where it needs to be. No, this is not Tony being a boss. This is Tony being petty. You're not going to use them. You're not using Miro. You're not using Ricky. Let them go. And to all the people that say, oh, well, that sets a terrible precedent. I think Tony could afford to cut some payroll because the roster that he has right now is so bloated, it's legitimately popping at the seams. He doesn't even use 75% of his roster. Just let them go. You weren't planning on using them. You're not going to use them now. And all you're doing is doing them harm. But yet, we're told, AEW is the alternative. To what? What are they the alternative to? Vince did this. From my vantage point, this is Tony Khan taking great influence from one of his idols, Vince McMahon. I thought Tony was the alternative. I thought everybody loved working for Tony Khan. And not when Tony Khan has a fucking vendetta against those who he thinks did him wrong. So he's making the Lucha Brothers suffer. To me, that's a bitch move. Sammy Guevara. Some positive news on Sammy Guevara. I think this is actually, no, you know what? I'm not going to talk about Sammy Guevara yet. Let me talk about something that actually has to do with this whole Penta and Rey Fenix situation. I'm sorry. This is a bitch move. WWE followed suit after this. The timeline was very, very coincidental. This wasn't by design. WWE files yes trademark after sending legal letter to Bryan Danielson. In a recent interview with Luke James Schatz, Bryan Danielson noted that he received a legal letter from WWE after filing for it. He also shared the story behind the letter. Danielson stated, well, so I applied for it, but then I got it, and it wasn't necessarily a cease and desist. I got some sort of legal letter from WWE. Listen, it's really weird because my manager texted me and said, hey, this thing is available. Do you want to get it? I was like, how much does it cost? It wasn't that much. Okay, sure. Shortly after that, I got an email from WWE saying, this is infringing on this or that or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I just do my thing. Danielson first got the chant over during his WWE babyface run in 2013 after doing the no, no, no chant while making his entrance. So WWE filed for the term on October 1st for entertainment services and clothing purposes. Gee, man, what happened last week where Penta and Rey Fenix were added or had AEW contract time added on top of their current AEW contracts? Oh, you mean to tell me that WWE is being petty right back to Tony Khan? Well, maybe Tony Khan should have been petty with WWE. WWE is going to turn right around and be petty with your boy, Bryan Danielson. You want to play petty games? You're going to win petty prizes. WWE absolutely filed that and put that into motion because of what Tony Khan did to Rey Fenix and Penta. Somebody prove me wrong. Maybe Tony shouldn't be Vince McMahon. Maybe he should continue to be that alternative that he promised AEW would be. Sammy Guevara. Quick note on Sammy Guevara. It's a positive update after a scary incident right before Dynamite when AEW taped Ring of Honor before last night's 5-year anniversary show. Fans in attendance noted that the injury happened when he went for a cutter to counter a top rope move, but missed the spot and landed on his head. They stopped the match. Serpentico was awarded the victory. He wrestled Serpentico for Ring of Honor television. Imagine, and granted, I appreciate everybody that steps in the ring and does the thing that we love called pro wrestling, but imagine doing what you did on AEW television in Ring of Honor in front of fucking 6 people. Is it worth it? Is it truly worth it? Guevara was stretchered to the back. Dave Meltzer noted on Twitter that it was believed that Guevara sustained the concussion. Wade Keller of the PW Torch reported that Guevara was seen walking around on his own after being checked out, and it wouldn't have been obvious that he had been stretchered earlier. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez shared that he was told about Guevara and said, I was told that at the time they were pretty concerned about it, but he was in the trainer's room later and seemed okay, though, although I'm sure he will be in concussion protocol for a while. We wish Sammy Guevara a speedy recovery. I need to know, is Sammy Guevara going to slow his fucking pace down? I think Sammy's at a point in his career where he's been out more times than I care to remember with a fucking stupid injury. Thinking maybe it's time to slow everything down just a bit. How long can he continue working at that pace? And why would you continue to work at that pace on Ring of Honor where no one's watching, nobody cares, and nobody realizes that you're even there? Slow the shit down before something worse happens than just a fucking concussion. Seems like there's an injury every fucking week on AEW television. Absolutely reckless for the sake of being reckless. And none of it matters. None of it. Guys, we're going to get into some WWE talk. I got some Bad Blood talk. We got some WWE news and notes. And we'll get into all that. But tonight, this podcast this evening is brought to you by my great friends over at DraftKings. Make sure you guys go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code JD from NY. UFC 307 is coming up this weekend if you guys want to get in on all that action. Tonight's show is sponsored by DraftKings. UFC 307 is going down this weekend in Salt Lake City, and I want you guys to get in on all that action with my partners over at DraftKings. That's right. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers who use my promo code JD from NY bet $5 and you will instantly get $200 in bonus bets. That's right, guys. UFC 307 is going to be a good one. Big-time main event. Pereira and Roundtree. And all new customers who bet just $5 on anything will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. DraftKings is the one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you can join in on all the fun and have a shot to win cash prizes. That's right, guys. It's very simple. All you got to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now, and all new customers who bet $5 on anything will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use that promo code JD from NY. Once again, promo code JD from NY. All new customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I want to thank DraftKings for sponsoring today's episode of Off the Script. This is episode 477 on your Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. Make sure you guys get those super chats and we'll hang out at the end of the show. As always, make sure you guys continue to hit that thumbs up. We got 633 likes. I'd love if we could get to 750 on today's episode of OTS. And please make sure you guys go out and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. There is plenty of news to round out your week, man, as we continue to build going into Bad Blood. NXT debuted on the CW, and the rating was the largest audience since October of 2023. The following was sent to media in regards to NXT's ratings on the CW debut. The CW network delivers largest audience for NXT since October 2023. NXT's CW debut on broadcast television drew 895,000 total viewers. Somebody in the chat, get me the Dynamite ratings, because I'm sure the Dynamite ratings have been released, being that it is now going on 6 o'clock. What are the Dynamite? Oh, actually, here they are. Dynamite ratings, 680,000. Couldn't even pull, man. Listen, everything that I mentioned in the beginning of this show is factual information, man. For a 5-year anniversary show, 680,000 viewers, man. They failed to do 700,000, which is their new norm. They failed to break 700,000. NXT on Tuesday night did 895,000. That is ridiculous. NXT did almost a third of their audience. That's a developmental brand, too, by the way, folks. And that show wasn't even all that on Tuesday night. 895,000 total viewers, plus 44% over last week's episode on cable. Premiere was strongest program on the CW this year amongst 18 to 49 adults and 25 to 54 adults. Total viewers up more than 100% for CW affiliates in New York, LA, Dallas, and Detroit. And they put out the press statement saying last night's NXT broadcast television debut on the CW network delivered the largest audience for the weekly program since October 2023 with 895,000 total viewers. The show peaked at 965,000 total viewers from 8:15 to 8:30 and was the number one telecast on the CW this year amongst adults 25 to 54. That is in the 406,000 range. And adults 18 to 49, and that was in the 354,000 range. Good for them. They are netting, what, $35 million a year for this NXT show? This is and was the most important night in NXT. This was the biggest night in the history of the NXT brand. They are now on broadcast television. I don't know if their ratings are going to be close to 900,000 every week, but we saw what happened with SmackDown. SmackDown moved from Fox, where they were comfortably sitting at a 2.1, 2.2 every week, And now they're on the USA Network, and they're struggling to do 1.6, 1.7. I think this week they were a 1.5, 1.54 on the USA Network. It's a different beast going from broadcast television back to cable and then cable to broadcast television. You see the jump that NXT did. Are they going to be that way every week? The answer is no. I'd be shocked. Would they, or are they going to maintain that going into next week? Maybe, because it's another big show in St. Louis, and Randy Orton's going to be there, and he's wrestling Javon Evans, and Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair are going to be on the show. And who else knows what type of surprises? Shawn Michaels said that there is a ton of surprises in store for NXT. We don't know. We don't know. But after these two debut shows on the CW, where they're in Chicago this week, they're in St. Louis next week, and they go back to the Performance Center, it's probably going to normalize around 700, 750,000 every single week. I mean, the first episode in anything, the first movie in a line of movies is going to do better than the rest of them. The first of anything is going to do the best of anything. So I don't think that they're going to maintain that. We'll see what happens next week. There may be a little dip, but it's going to be another big show next week. And they'll probably normalize at 750 to 800,000 maybe on a weekly basis, as long as they continue to put on decent television. Tuesday's show was boring. I felt bored. I said this on Tuesday. I don't know what I am not seeing. So many people reach out to me and Jason on Tuesday. Oh, you guys got to watch NXT. It's such a banger show, man. What am I missing that I'm not watching or that I'm not catching on to? The show was mid. Julia and Roxanne, good for what it was, but I wasn't blown away. I gave my reasons on Julia's debut. You don't really debut her the way that you did and then expect her to be, oh my goodness, the fans don't know who she is. The fans don't know what she's about. She wrestled one match before that televised against Chelsea Green, and you're already throwing her into a fucking championship match with someone who's so well established on that brand. She's the queen of that division. What did you expect to happen? She doesn't know how the WWE product is run. She doesn't know what to do. This is all new to her. You stifled her on what she used to do in Japan and not allow her to do it here. So many different factors came into play. And I thought the match was mid. This wasn't the hype and the blowaway match that they advertised it to be. It wasn't. Wesley and Zachary Wentz had a great street fight. I thought they killed it. The tag team women's match with Lola Vice and Jada Parker versus Fatal Influence, whatever the fuck their name is. Basically, nothing more than a great value version of Toxic Attraction. I didn't feel emotionally invested in that. Who gives a shit? And then you got Ethan Page running around with the NXT Championship. Maybe one of the worst, if not the worst, NXT champion since Bo Dallas. Ethan Page is your NXT World Champion before Tuesday. Obviously, he lost it to Trick Williams, but Ethan Page? People were claiming that NXT was better. Yet I see Ethan Page as your world champion. You want to know why? The reason why they gave Ethan Page the world championship is because he's an ex-AEW guy, and Tony Khan dropped the ball, so WWE thought it was, haha, we'll show him and give him the world championship after 6 fucking weeks. Ethan Page hasn't been relevant or important since his tag team days in the North with Josh Alexander. In the lineage of NXT titles and NXT world champions, he is by far the worst NXT champion. Trick Williams won the NXT championship, and I can only hope for a better show. But after this past Tuesday's show, I covered it. I don't know what I'm doing with NXT moving forward. I'm going to have to watch Tuesday. But as far as what I'm covering on the channel, I think I'm covering AEW next week and not NXT. That's just me. Don't know what Jason's doing, but I believe he's covering AEW as well. Tuesday Night Titans will be back on Wednesday from my understanding, so you guys are going to get a very rare and bizarre episode of TNT on Wednesday. Wednesday Night Titans. AJ Styles. Fightful Select is reporting that those they have spoken to are aware and are of the belief that Styles' WWE contract is up either late this year or early next year. It's unclear whether Styles plans to leave or if the two sides have talked. It was said that numerous influential names within the industry and some who have worked with Styles believe it's up this year. Fightful's been told that Styles is enjoying time with his family and awaiting creative. Styles will be back on Friday night this coming week, right before Bad Blood. What he does, I don't know. I think the United States Championship is taken, center stage with Andrade, LA Knight, and Carmelo Hayes. Don't really see how AJ Styles fits into that. The World Championship is obviously Cody and the Bloodline and Roman, and all depending on if Rock comes back, he doesn't fit into that. What exactly does AJ Styles fit in on Friday night? I don't know. Now, if Sapp is reporting this, I believe it. Is Styles' contract up at the end of the year, early next year? And if it is, how much money is Tony Khan going to throw at AJ Styles? Because he is the very definition of where the best wrestle. Does AJ even want to jump ship to something like AEW? Knowing the roster of talent he's got over there, I think he would want to put his name in the ring against an MJF, a Will Ospreay, a Kenny Omega, so on and so forth. Konosuke Takeshita, Kazuchika Okada. I mean, that's a very enticing offer if you're AJ Styles. I don't know. But we don't really know. We also heard Kevin Owens' contract is up at the end of the year. WWE is kind of gauging that situation, and reports said that Tony Khan is ready and willing to offer the vault for Kevin Owens. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting year, and all I could tell you, no matter where these guys go, there will be a flip-flop of talent from AEW to WWE and WWE to AEW. It's all great for the business. It really is at the end of the day. WWE is planning for a return of the War Raiders. On the latest WrestleVotes radio, it was confirmed that the mystery vignettes that we've seen, fate is woven. We see these little fiery symbols with some Viking scripture written in between. These are for the Viking Raiders, after some people were foolishly claiming they were for the Lucha Brothers. No, they're not. The Viking Raiders, Joey Votes and WrestleVotes claim that the Viking Raiders will be undergoing a name change back to the War Raiders. They will be presented as the War Raiders once again. Whether that means Ivar and Eric will go back to being Hanson and Rowe, I don't know. I don't particularly mind the names Eric and Ivar. I do think it fits the Viking name. But the Viking experience or the Viking Raiders, burn that shit and get rid of it. They were named after a fucking Disney attraction because Vince McMahon always looked to seek out and kill whatever Triple H created in NXT. And then he thought it was even ridiculous to a point where he even had to change the name. So he kept the Vikings part and said Viking Raiders instead of War Raiders because we can't sell war on our television show, pal. Meanwhile, Triple H doesn't give a shit, and he knew that the War Raiders were far superior than anything that we've seen so far from them on the WWE main roster, and they're going back to the War Raiders. Remember them? They had aura. And the tag team division is only going to get stronger with both of them being back and hopefully staying healthy. WWE and AEW are set to go head-to-head with NXT and Title Tuesday next Tuesday, but that's not the only time. NXT and Dynamite went ahead and went head-to-head in October 2019 through 2021 April before NXT moved to Tuesday nights. While speaking with Justin Barrasso for his Undisputed Substack, Nicholas Jackson said he missed the head-to-head competition. Now he will get his wish granted twice this year. NXT and AEW go head-to-head next on October 8th. That's next week. WrestleVotes is reporting on their latest episode of WrestleVotes Radio that another showdown between the two shows will be on November 6th, as NXT will look to avoid the night of the U.S. presidential election. I think we are, meaning me and Jason, are looking to do the same thing. I don't think there'll be a Tuesday Night Titans that week. I think we're going to take off that week. And I think because of the presidential election, nobody's going to want to give a shit about anything else on television or YouTube that night. So I think it's probably best if we just skip it, and then we'll be back the following week. So I could see where they're coming from that. But WrestleVote says, I can report that on Wednesday, November 6th, NXT will be live on Wednesday due to the election night here in the United States. Election night is November 5th. That will be a lot of attention on who will be the next president of the United States. So in wise fashion, they were able to move their night off of Tuesday and will be airing on Wednesday, November 6th, which will be going head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. Great. Tony Khan, by the way, is doing Title Tuesday next week, and he's doing Dynamite from 9 to 11 to avoid 1 full hour of competing head-to-head with NXT. He knew better. He knows better. He knew what happened last year. Even though I thought Title Tuesday last year was a lot better than NXT, I thought NXT was just ridiculously overbooked. They made that shit almost comical. Undertaker, John Cena, Paul Heyman. It's like, come on, man, really? Title Tuesday was great last year, and I'm expecting Tony Khan to stack the show. I wish it made sense, but I'm looking forward to seeing him how he stacks the show next Tuesday for Title Tuesday. WWE is holding double tapings for Raw and SmackDown. PW Insider is reporting that WWE will not air a live episode of Raw on October 14th. By the way, next week, Raw goes back to 2 hours, 8 to 10. Love it. On October 14th, it will not be a live episode of Raw. Instead, WWE will air a live episode on October 7th, the Fallout edition of Raw for Bad Blood, and then tape the following week's episode. The reason for that is the upcoming European tour next month. The report adds that WWE is slated to air a live SmackDown episode on October 25th from the Barclays Center in New York before taping the November 1st episode of SmackDown. WWE has opted to not air SmackDown the night before Crown Jewel like they did earlier this year from Saudi Arabia. As previously noted, WWE will tape Raw on the Sunday after Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. So they're looking to make travel to Saudi and travel over there for their Saudi shows a little bit more easier. So I understand why they're doing that. And then obviously with the European tour coming up, WWE wants to get ahead of the curve, tape Monday Night Raw rather, and get it out of the way, and then make sure everybody could get to where they got to go. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of the taped environment. I'm not a big fan of the taped shows. You can physically see and hear when it's a taped show. WWE does a lot of dubbing with the crowd, and you just sense that it's artificially dubbed over. So we got to live through that for at least a couple of weeks. So WWE is going to be holding double tapings for Raw and SmackDown on those dates. WWE is planning to hold a PLE in the UK next year. Now, they've already confirmed for pay-per-views or PLEs next year. Royal Rumble will be on Saturday, February 1st in Indianapolis, Indiana at Lucas Oil Stadium. WrestleMania will be in Vegas, as you guys know, Saturday and Sunday, April 19 and April 20. That's at Allegiant Stadium. SummerSlam was announced just this past week, Saturday, August 2nd and August 3rd. Sunday from MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And during the latest episode of WrestleVotes Radio, both WrestleVotes, Joey Votes and WrestleVotes, added that WWE is planning for a UK show ahead of whatever UK show they are planning for WrestleMania. Next year's Elimination Chamber PLE is planned for the United Kingdom, with Manchester and Birmingham currently the leading cities. Joey Votes said that we can confirm the Elimination Chamber PLE is headed to the United Kingdom in March of 2025 on the road to WrestleMania in Las Vegas. We are hearing two leaders to get that show would be Manchester and Birmingham, so we'll see what they decide. But we do know that the Elimination Chamber PLE is headed to the United Kingdom. WrestleVotes added, and as these negotiations go on, I think they settle on the Elimination Chamber as the right place and time for it. Given all the elements, we see the success it had last year in Australia. So yeah, that's where we're going to be headed for the Elimination Chamber, United Kingdom, in March of 2025. And I think that's going to open the door again for a few more international PLEs as we have that time between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. Can't complain about it. UK is one of the greatest fan bases for pro wrestling in the world, and it's going to be electric for the Elimination Chamber on the road to WrestleMania. So I was one of the many who thought that with AEW moving All In out of Wembley next year and doing All In Arlington, AEW is going to be in London, probably at the O2 for Forbidden Door. That's happening in the summer of 2025, which left August open. We all expected that WWE potentially may be doing the SummerSlam show next year at Wembley Stadium, which would have been a great spectacle. But it looks like WWE is going to go smaller scale in the United Kingdom next year to give people a nice little taste, nice little appetizer on the Elimination Chamber night leading into WrestleMania in Las Vegas. And then obviously they want their real big Wembley show to be WrestleMania whenever that show does take place. So no Wembley next year, but they are going to the UK, but it will be for the Elimination Chamber. Monday night, we saw a last monster standing match between Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed. Now, before I get into the news coming out of that match, WWE was not happy with the ring collapsing during the end of that match, which saw Seth Rollins come out and make his return to WWE television. Now, I mentioned on Monday's stream that Braun Strowman looked like his knees were fucked up. Now, we didn't know what had happened while we were watching the show. He tried to run and just could not run. I think there was a spot on the apron where Strowman ran at Bronson Reed. Reed was on the apron. He went flying off the apron into a bunch of stacked steel chairs on the outside. And Braun Strowman he could not run to save his life. I don't know what was going on. I said, man, his knees are fucking gone. They're shot. It had nothing to do with his knees. Apparently, he pulled his groin. He tore his groin during the match. So I don't know how long he's going to be out, but the last Monster Standing match might have been won. The war might have been won by Bronson Reed because Braun Strowman's going to be out. I don't know how long that's going to take to heal, but it looks like he tore his groin. Now, in the match's closing moments, Reed hit a superplex on Strowman that caused the ring to collapse. Seth Rollins came out, hit Bronson Reed with a stomp on steel steps. Strowman picked up the win as a result. Unlike past ring collapsing spots, the ring didn't go down all the way due to the LED boards. While those online at the show and at the show liked the spot, WWE felt differently. WrestleVotes reported during a Q&A on Sportskeeda's WrestleBinge YouTube channel that the spot didn't go as well as WWE had planned. WrestleVotes stated the performance, Reed's performance, that is, overall, everybody loved it. This is specifically talking about the broken ring spot. Let's just say it didn't go as planned. They didn't like the way it came off. They loved the performance of both those guys, and the match itself was well praised. The crowd was electric. I just think the actual spot of the ring breaking didn't have the impact that it had in the past, and a lot of people expected it to have. I did have a source who was there on Monday. The internal reaction instantly was, oof. That was not as big as we would have hoped. I don't know if it was a mechanical thing or just the impact that it made. It looked as if it did, to give a little bit more color into what my source was referencing. This was probably the most predictable ring collapsing spot they've ever done. So when you know it's coming and it's still not great, therein lies the problem. But not taking anything away from the performance prior to the spot itself. Well, the match I thought was fun. I thought it was a fun time. Seth Rollins being back and him now getting into that feud that we all were anticipating with Bronson Reed is going to be great. The thing is, WWE telegraphed this spot last week. They basically told you it was coming last week. There was a spot where Adam Pearce had sent out a bunch of security guards, and Strowman and Reed were on the top turnbuckle. They were on the second turnbuckle. And Strowman was going to do a suplex or a superplex in that spot, but all the security guards got behind them and put a stop to it, right? And then Bronson Reed, he escapes, Strowman comes down, and we end the segment. And then we get the last Monster Standing match booked. WWE telegraphed it a week ago before we even got the ring collapse on Monday this week. So we all knew it was coming. So was it the fact that they knew it was coming and that it was telegraphed and that it was something that was very predictable and that's why it sucked? I don't think so. I didn't really take anything from it. I mean, the ring collapsing spot's been done before. People are going to pop for it. People are going to enjoy it because it's fucking chaos. It's carnage. We don't see it all the time. But WWE has done it with big men in this type of story, in this type of manner, so many times that fans are not stupid. WWE is still pretending their fans are stupid, not knowing when we, are getting something or not. We do. We know what's coming. We know what's happening. We see things set up. We see when things are telegraphed. Maybe they weren't happy with the way it came off. I didn't mind it. It added to the match. It added to the ending. It gave Rollins a way to come back out and cost Bronson Reed the match and get some level of revenge for giving him 6 tsunamis. I don't really think it's a big deal. They're making a big deal about that, yet Braun Strowman, poor Braun Strowman, who's been doing some great work himself lately with Bronson Reed, they're more worried about the fucking ring breaking. And poor Bronson Reed, he had to go through this and wrestle a match with Braun Strowman who fucking tore his groin. Poor Braun Strowman. You're worried about the fucking ring breaking. Worried about Braun Strowman. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns may be doing something he hasn't done in years at the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns may be in the Royal Rumble. Now, that would create a very interesting dynamic. WWE announced earlier this week that tickets for the Royal Rumble, slated for Saturday, February 1st at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, will go on sale Friday, November 15th at 10 a.m. via Ticketmaster.com. The first promotional material for the event is out, with Reigns listed alongside several top stars. This confirmed that WWE is currently planning for Reigns to be at the show. However, what he would be doing was speculated. WrestleVotes was asked during the Sports Keto Wrestle Binge YouTube channel about whether Reigns will be in the Royal Rumble match since he's featured on the poster. WrestleVotes noted that Reigns may be working the Royal Rumble match, something he hasn't done since 2020. Good question. It's hard to say. That is what the indication is for. The signs clearly are there because of the design of the poster that he's working the event. It seems to be, and just from the short list of questions that I asked, that I got back, he's probably more likely to be in the Rumble for the first time in a while as opposed to a singles standalone match. All I can say is Roman Reigns on the Rumble poster, likely to be in the Rumble match. You can draw your own conclusions from there regarding a third match with Reigns at WrestleMania for Cody Rhodes. Cody was on Pat McAfee's show. He mentioned to Pat McAfee that something will be done at Bad Blood. Kind of a Bad Blood spoiler. He said, big title implications for Crown Jewel. There will be a vignette that plays during the show that will have big title implications for Bad Blood going into Crown Jewel. He says this, and I quote, the WWE Championship is not on the line this weekend, but there is something that happens at Bad Blood, I guess a video package or a vignette, that's going to play during the show. I've got to keep it vague, but there are big title implications for Crown Jewel. Moving past. Sorry for being so vague. The little spoiler there, in addition to that, WrestleMania 41, I am looking to do what I've done 3 times now and enter the main event, but I think it will be something that perhaps is bigger than anyone anticipated. Now, I don't know what he is even alluding to, but the first thing that jumped off my mind, people are already saying, does Roman win the Royal Rumble? And do we get Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 3 at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas? No, nobody wants to see that for a third match. If that happens, it either happens in Saudi or at Saturday night's main event on December 14th on Long Island at Nassau Coliseum. Cody and Roman at WrestleMania is not or should not be the plan. Nobody wants to see that for a third time. That would be uber boring. Cody said it is bigger than anyone even anticipates. I said, and I predicted for months, Cody versus Rock for the WWE title at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Now, I would like to see that take shape after what we saw following WrestleMania this year on the Raw After Mania, where Rock shook Cody's hand and told him, "Don't break my heart." And then handed him something that we could not see and still don't know what he handed him. Cody says it's going to be bigger than anyone ever anticipated. So what does that mean? If Roman's going to be in the Royal Rumble, the first thing that jumped off my mind was, if Roman's in the Rumble, then I would suspect Rock to be in the Royal Rumble. You know, a lot of people have predicted that Lex Luger versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. The way that went down is Luger and Bret both eliminated each other from the Royal Rumble in 1994. If Roman is in the Royal Rumble and Rock is in the Royal Rumble, don't you think that would open up the floodgates to potentially have both of them win the Royal Rumble at the same time, then giving us Rock versus Cody versus Roman for the WWE Championship? Because at that point, we don't know which side Rock is going to be on. We don't know if Rock is going to be aligned with Roman. We don't know if Rock is going to be aligned with Solo and his bloodline. We don't know what's going down. I want Cody versus Rock. I think that's the match. Roman versus Jacob Fatu. I think that would be a WrestleMania match. But for WWE to do Cody and Rock and then save Roman for Jacob Fatu, honestly, to me, that's a WrestleMania match. To you guys, that's a WrestleMania match. But to WWE, I don't think that is big enough. How do we make this the biggest WrestleMania of all time? We kind of mix everything together and give everybody a little bit of something that they want. People want Cody versus Rock. People want Rock versus Roman. People want Cody versus Roman 3 at WrestleMania. Because the story is clearly going that way. Roman says he wants the title. He's already made promises that when we're done with this shit and I get back my Ulafala and I end Solo, I'm coming back for the title. I think if Roman's in the Rumble, Rock is going to be in the Rumble, and we're going to get Roman, Rock, and Cody in the main event of WrestleMania. That's what I think. Now, I don't know which way they're going to go. That doesn't even excite me. The way that comes off, that don't excite me at all. But I could see WWE certainly doing that. I don't know. Then you got the Elimination Chamber. Whoever wins the Elimination Chamber is obviously going to come off of the Monday Night Raw brand and challenge Gunther for the World's Heavyweight Championship. That's just the way that I see it. I don't know. I genuinely don't know how WrestleMania is going to end up this year. I don't. It all depends on what Rocky wants to do. It all depends on what Dwayne wants to do. Dwayne is going to call the shots. If Dwayne wants something, more than likely Dwayne is going to get it. And Dwayne's already eyed the WWE Championship. That happened on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. You don't think he's coming after the WWE title? I don't know. What Randy does, I don't know. You know, I've told people Randy versus Cena, being that is Cena and Randy's first singles one-on-one WrestleMania match. I don't know. Listen, the one thing I can honestly tell you is that Triple H already has WrestleMania in the back of his mind, and come at the end of November, as soon as we get done with War Games, Triple H has already got 90% of WrestleMania the way he wants it, unless Rock is going to go and blow shit up. That's what I feel. Bad Blood is this Saturday. I will be live after Bad Blood. We got the official post show right here on Off the Script. As of Monday, this is coming from PWN, Pro Wrestling Nexus. Shout out to those guys. The card has been leaked. The match order has been leaked for Bad Blood. This is coming from Viper of PWN. Punk versus McIntyre will open Bad Blood inside Hell in the Cell. That may anger some people. I don't know. What's the main event? Clearly, Cody, Roman, Solo, Jacob Fatu will main event. And there is rumor right now, again on the Pat McAfee show, Pat McAfee ended his show by going up to Cody and shaking his hand and thanking him for being a guest on yesterday's Pat McAfee show. He asked Cody Rhodes, "Is the big man coming back?" And Cody was like, "Who?" "The big man." "Which one?" Cody says. "That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know," says Pat McAfee. Rock could potentially be back in Atlanta at Bad Blood. The reason why that match is going on last is something is going down. That's the reason why that's going down there in the main event. So Punk McIntyre's opening. It's going to be weird to see the first thing. As soon as you turn the show on, Hell in a Cell lowering Punk McIntyre. Needs to be bloody. Needs to be bloody. Punk is going to win. What happens to McIntyre, I don't know. But bloodshed has been promised. And if WWE could push the envelope as far as they can, it needs to be a violent Hell in a Cell match to bring the match back to its original roots. Nia Jackson Bayley will be second on the show. I believe Nia will lose the championship, not to Bayley. I think Nia gets cashed in on. I think Tiffany Stratton is walking out of Bad Blood as the new WWE Women's Champion. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. That will be match number 3. I am going with Damian Priest. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. I'm going Liv Morgan. I think either Dominic in the shark cage throws down something to Liv Morgan to give her the advantage, or I really like the idea that has been brought to the table the last few weeks of Raquel Rodriguez making a return to the WWE and helping Liv Morgan as backup against Rhea Ripley, which then continues this feud going on into Survivor Series. Doesn't necessarily give Rhea the win so quickly, because if you give Rhea the win, then the entire storyline is over. I mean, she's got the title back, and that's all she really wants at this point. Can't end it. I think right now it's the biggest women's storyline on Monday Night Raw. And if Rhea, the most important thing is if Rhea wins, what does she do? She doesn't do much of anything. So why not keep her chasing and have Liv retain? So I'm going with Liv, and then I'm going with Damian, because I don't see Liv and Finn being 2 winners on the same night. I think one will win and the other will lose. As far as the Terror Twins, I think Damian wins and Rhea loses. And Cody and Roman versus Solo and Jacob. I am going with Solo and Jacob Fatu. I think whatever implications happened or will happen between Cody and Roman and whatever Cody was talking about, I think those implications will certainly come at Cody being pinned in this match. I think Cody Rhodes will take the pinfall loss at Bad Blood, and I do think that Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu will be victorious in Atlanta, and I do think, I'm predicting, we will see The Rock. I do think we see The Rock right now at Bad Blood. And that is that. Guys, thank you for all of your support. Let me make a quick check to see if there is anything that has broke in the time that I've been live, and it doesn't look like there has been. But if you guys enjoyed today's Off the Script, I would really appreciate you guys hit that thumbs up. We got 734 likes. I'd love if we can get another 20 or so likes to reach 750. If you guys are in the chat and have not hit the thumbs up, I would appreciate it if you do. It helps me out tremendously. Super chats are open. Get them on in. We're going to hang out in just a little bit. I got my cold beverage all ready to go. Sit down with yours and let's chat as we end this episode 477 of the podcast on this Thursday afternoon. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Go check out all the other content on the channel. There's plenty of it. And hit that subscribe button down below, please. And while you're at it, I got a second channel, JD from NY Shorts. Go subscribe to that channel as well. Some great shit going up on that channel this week. And we'll continue to do so, man, as we are quickly approaching 10,000 subscribers on the JD from NY Shorts channel. Shout out to my Twitch family as well. We are live on Twitch. Appreciate you guys very much. We are doing it big on Twitch, man. We are 150 followers away from 11,000. So thank you guys very much, man. Thank you for the new follows. If you guys want to go and hit that subscribe button over there, I would appreciate your generosity and your support over there on Twitch. We'll be simultaneously streaming on Twitch for the rest of the year. Frag Dude. Let's start with my guy Frag Dude, who is a 26-month member. He says, wow, 26 months. Awesome show. Thank you, brother. Sidro. $2 super chat. Hell in the Cell is opening. Hope that means Rock return later. It could potentially mean that, yeah. Willem Hendrick Fullard with a 45 months. Being a member for almost 4 years, you better believe this brother of mine, he's the best in the world. Love your work, brother. Always will support you. Thank you, Willem. Appreciate you, man. 45 months, brother. You are 3 months away from the elusive Mustang emote. That is some great shit right there, bro. Shinobi. 20 months. I haven't seen Shinobi in a while, man. Hope you're having a great day, JD. Shout out to the OTS Tribal Chief and the whole OTS family at 20 months here in the VIP section. Thank you, brother. Sidro with a $5 super chat. Girl, I want a Barbie and G.I. Joe for my birthday. Mom, doesn't Barbie come with Ken? No, she comes with G.I. Joe. She fakes it with Ken. You know, I was not into G.I. Joe as a kid. More into the Transformers. More into the Transformers. You know what? Hold on one second. Hold on a second. Let's see if this works.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
Megatron!
What's wrong?
Convert!
Leader of the Decepticons.
Oh my God, man. How fucking great is that, man?
What's wrong?
Megatron! Megatron!
What's wrong?
Hello!
Foolish creature. Silence.
Megatron!
What's wrong?
Optimus Prime!
Optimus Prime. I'll crush you with my bare hands.
Oh, man. Megatron! Megatron! What is he, ignoring me now? Megatron! Megatron!
What's wrong?
Galvatron!
The Autobots think they have defeated us, but yet we survived.
Megatron.
What's wrong?
Starscream.
You couldn't lead androids to a picnic, Starscream. How can you pretend to lead the Decepticons?
Megatron.
What's wrong?
Fire. Fire. Fucking guy. Megatron.
What's wrong?
Fire. Fire, bitch. He's not listening to me now. Megatron.
What's wrong?
Happy birthday.
I am the leader of the Decepticons, Megatron. If you are willing to join the Decepticons, then I will wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. If not, I can only treat you to eat my cannon barrel.
Megatron. Megatron.
What's wrong?
Convert.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
Oh man, how great is that, man? How fucking awesome is that? How great is that? How great is that? Yeah, I was more of a Transformers guy, clearly. My guy, Dr. Evil Genius. Want to show the IWC King some love. Just got back from Berlin, Germany today. Miss Evil completed the Berlin Marathon. Hit me up, brother. Yeah, man, I know. You've been trying to reach the cellular device, man. When I'm away from here, dude, it's been tough. There's a bunch of mental roadblocks is all I'll say. And you know how I get, man. I just kind of take a step back away from everybody. Hopefully no hard feelings, and I hope you're well. I miss you and the ladies. But we'll definitely touch base soon. And congratulations to Mrs. Evil, man. Berlin. I can't see you being a guy that had much fun in Berlin. Guys, if you want to go check it out, just go to Hasbro's website. It's from Robson, Hasbro Pulse. They got Optimus and Megatron, and I think they have Grimlock. Grimlock was the most expensive, but I'm a Megatron guy. Gabriel Boss with 25. JD, you kept changing your mind about when Liv is losing the title. First it was SummerSlam, then it was Bad Blood. Now it's Saturday Night's Main Event. You'll change your mind again. Well, the story keeps evolving, Gabriel. So it's okay to change our mind if the story is ever evolving. There's nothing for Rhea Ripley to do if she wins the championship. Who is she going to feud with? Willis with a $14.99. Hey, JD, with your channel growth and lots of new fans, would you and Silent Monster consider doing a TNT special where you give us a bit of a history lesson from the perspective of the fans? OTS for life. Willis, I think we give you a history lesson every single week. Jason is more of the historian than I am. Guys, you could go on Hasbro Pulse and see for yourself what that Megatron cost. It's been a pre-order since before WrestleMania. Michelle Moran with a $5 super chat. Hell in a Cell should have been the main event. Roman Cody tag team match better delivered. TK won't solve AEW's problems because he is the problem. KO should stay away from AEW. If there's something big happening in the tag team match, then it should be the main event of the show. But I agree. Building this Hell in a Cell match for the return on Bad Blood and it not being in the main event, it's a little obtuse. But as long as they deliver a great match, I'm all right. Michelle with a 5. Thank you. Gabriel, by December, you'll know, JD, that Liv is the right person to hold the title going into WrestleMania. She deserves the singles match after the run she's had this year. I don't disagree. Otis with a re-up on the membership. Thank you, Otis. 33 months. Still here, never leaving. Been here since day one. OTS Bloodline. OTS for life. Thank you, brother. No, it was not $2,000. I got it on a pre-order bonus. I only paid $10.99. Gabriel says, if Liv loses, we're back in square one with Rhea having her long, predictable, boring title reign right in the middle of WrestleMania season. That's bad creative. So you're basically agreeing with me why I wouldn't take the title off Liv Morgan. Thanks, Gabriel. Arrangements with a $9.99. As a truck driver who works overnight, I never get to watch you live, and I always listen to your live streams the next morning. Thank you for keeping me entertained while I'm on the road every day. My pleasure, brother. Be safe out there. Glad I could keep you entertained. King Zagar, 94 with the $4.99. To the people who prefer 10 matches on a pay-per-view over 5 or 6 matches, thank God none of you are booking the show. 5 matches are better storytelling-wise. I do think Bad Blood could have benefited from one more match. I would have put Gunther and Sammy on the show. Sidro, who's hotter, Stephanie Vacker or Julia? I am going to go with... Stephanie. BC with a $4.99. Here's $5, please. I need another impersonation of a sicko watching Collision. Listen, BC, I appreciate that, brother. I don't know if I could recreate that, man. We're gonna leave it as a one-time only deal, man. You guys got instant replay for a reason. I won't be able to recreate what I did earlier in the show. But I'm glad you guys found it entertaining. Blake Meads with a $9.99. Just great. All this TV deal is going to do is give Tony more of an excuse to rest on his laurels. I just want a good wrestling show. That's what I'm worried about, Blake. That's what I'm worried about. Tone C with a $10 super chat. Sorry, JD. No butternut squash this year. My garden did a third of last year's harvest. I'm going to do it bigger and better next season. I love me some butternut squash, man. Some butternut squash ravioli and a brown butter sage sauce. Oh, my goodness. Oh, so good. Frank Morano with a $10 super chat. I already have Max, and I totally get why people are upset about the lower rate pay-per-view, but I can drop my Sling subscription after 2024, so I could save $40, but again, I get the bit of disappointment. Yeah, I think that's the biggest L from the entire TV deal, for sure. BC24, the $4.99. Don't understand this concept of burying talent before they jump ship. Once Penta and Ray are in WWE, that's a reset, and I'm sure Triple H will do them well. It's pettiness. It's only pettiness. It's not being a boss. It's not being competitive. It's pettiness. Best in the world, Matt. What's up, brother? $10 super chat. I went to the first All Out in 2019, and I was at All Out last month at the same arena in Chicago. Back then, the energy was off the charts, and there was hope. Now, you can feel the energy is different. I haven't been to a show in a few years, brother. I mean, I don't need to physically sit there like you did. I could see it on the show. I could see it watching on my TV. Learning Tree Jericho 8131. TK's problem of killing his talent's popularity needs to be studied. Garcia, Starks, The Acclaimed, Wardlow, FTR, Statlander, Malachi, Miro, Mariah, Hangman have even cooled off post All Out. The guy's fucking clueless. The guy is fucking clueless right now. It wasn't always that way. Realist in the room, how you doing? 199. Feel like you bring up Vince more now than ever. Do I? Or is it that you don't like when I compare Tony Khan to Vince McMahon and the way Vince McMahon used to book his shows is the same way Tony Khan is booking his shows? Cake, $2 super chat. This is the third report of WWE being dissatisfied. What else are they dissatisfied with? There's nothing to be dissatisfied about. They're fucking killing it right now. Twisted Creech 96 with a $4.99. I wouldn't be surprised if Cena appears at Bad Blood. He is here in Atlanta filming Peacemaker Season 2. Well, if he is, I mean, do they potentially put him on the show and set up something for the next couple of months on Netflix? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Eric Aviles with 23 months. Finally. I'm close to that golden mic. 2.5 years of listening to the best podcast in the world. Love you, brother. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you, man. I don't know if I'm the best in the world, but in the community, absolutely. Jason Correa with a $4.99. Hey, JD, how are you? I'm going to Hog on October 18th, and I would like to meet you and Solid Monster. And how would you rank all the wrestlers' shows of the week? Jason, I will be there with Jason, I will be there with Solid Monster. Jason, so all you got to do is come up to where we do commentary, and we'll be happy to chat with you and take a picture or whatnot, whatever. Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, NXT. Juice Giorgio with a $4.99. General question, why do we talk about total viewership numbers as opposed to ratings points these days? I don't know. I'm assuming it's the much larger number. Everybody sees 900,000 people. It's like, oh man, it was watched by 900,000 people. Frank Morano with a $10 super chat. Never consider myself a historian, but my first love event was Flair and Backlund. First live event, not love. You wrote love. Live event was Flair and Backlund at the Omni. I was around 9 and was hooked ever since. Love the pod, man. Thank you, Frank. Nothing like some old school pro wrestling, man. And I'm sure there was story there. And Andre Benson with a $5 super chat. You, Jesse, and Ross live stream was fire. How do you guys do that again? Or hope you guys do that again. Keep up the good work, JD. Hashtag OTS for life. Thank you, Andre. I'm sure me, Ross, and Jesse will do something in the future for sure. It's just got to be special. You don't want to wear it out. You don't want to wear it out. So I'm assuming that we'll be doing something, I think maybe for Survivor Series is what we discussed. Anyway, guys, thank you for a great stream. We are nearing 2 hours and 45 minutes of Off the Script here on this Thursday afternoon, man. Nice substitute for no TNT this week, huh? I think so. Thank you guys for a great stream. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys go check out all the other content on the channel. There is plenty of content on the channel. We'll be live tomorrow for SmackDown. We'll be live on Saturday for Bad Blood. Gonna be a big night. Gonna be a big night for Bad Blood. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. Make sure you guys, if you are listening on the audio side of things, I'd love if you leave me a 5-star rating, bro. Make sure you leave a rating. Helps me out. Moves me up the charts. Love to see Off the Script trending. And amongst the big boys, man, we are consistently in the top 30 for iTunes in the pro wrestling space. And like I said, guys, go check out all the other content on the channel. Last night's Dynamite stream was very good. Go check it out. I'll see you tomorrow night live for SmackDown, and then I'll see you guys Saturday night for Bad Blood right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.